So now let's talk about algebraic expressions. A collection of variables and real numbers, called constants, combined using addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division is what we call an algebraic expression. The terms of an algebraic expression are the things separated by addition and subtraction signs. That's because subtraction can be rewritten as addition. The real number factor in each term is what we call the coefficient. And remember, factors are things that are multiplied together. So, for example, if we look at x cubed plus 4x minus 8, our terms are x cubed, then we have a plus sign, so the next term is 4x, and the next term is a negative 8. We always take the sign with the term. The coefficients, okay, the x cubed doesn't have anything written in front of it. That means there's a 1 there that we just don't write. The 4x, the 4 and the x are both factors, so the coefficient is the number factor, which is the 4. And the coefficient on the negative 8 is just the negative 8. And we call the term that doesn't have any variables a constant, or a constant coefficient. So the negative 8 is a constant or constant coefficient because it doesn't have any variable term with it. Sorry, factor. So we can evaluate an algebraic expression if they give us number values to substitute for the variables. So for example, evaluate the following when x is 3 and y is negative 1. So on A, we have 4x cubed minus 3y. So we're going to plug in 3 where there's an x, and we're going to plug in negative 1 for y, which gives us 4 times 3 cubed minus 3 times a negative 1. So remember, we have to follow the order of operations here. So we have 4 exponents first, so 3 cubed is 27 minus a 3 times a negative 1. Now we're down to multiplication and division. So 4 times 27 is 108. You can use your calculator for that. And a negative 3 times a negative 1 is plus 3. So that gives us 111. Now, as always, you should pause the video and try to do the second example yourself before restarting the video to see how you did. So on part B, we're still plugging in the same numbers. So we have negative 1 for y minus a 3 squared divided by 3 times x is 3 minus 5 times a negative 1 squared. So, exponents first, we have negative 1 minus 3 squared is 9, so minus 9 over 3 times 3 minus 5 times a negative 1 squared is a positive 1. Okay, now we can do the multiplications in the denominator. So I just rewrote the numerator. In the denominator, 3 times 3 is 9, and 5 times 1 is 5, so we have 9 minus 5, which gives us a negative 10 in the numerator, negative 1 minus 9, And 9 minus 5 in the denominator is 4. And then we have to simplify. So 10 is 5 times 2. 4 is 2 times 2. We have one set of 2's cancels, and that leaves us with a negative 5 halves. Okay, so that's how we evaluate algebraic expressions when they give us values for the variables. Now we need to talk about the distributive property. The distributive property is a property of real numbers that allows us to multiply over addition and subtraction. So if we have variables, x times the quantity y plus z equals xy plus xz. So we make sure we multiply the thing on the outside by each of the terms inside the parentheses. So if we take negative 2 times the quantity 4y plus 3, we have to multiply the negative 2 by the 4y and the negative 2 by the 3. So that's negative 2 times 4y plus a negative 2 times 3. And so if we do the multiplication, negative 2 times 4 is a negative 8, and that has a y with it. And then negative 2 times 3 is negative 6, so we can say minus 6. Now, you should attempt to do number 15 on your own. Pause the video, and after you've tried it, then restart the video and see if you got the correct answer. So remember, we need to multiply the 5 by both terms inside the parentheses. So we don't have to write it out like I did in this first step over here. We can just say 5 times 4 is 20. And then 5 times a negative 3t is negative 15t. Now, if you don't like to do it like that in your head, you can go ahead and go back and do the 5 times the 4 minus the 5 times the 3t. And then go ahead and finish the problem out. So that's the distributive property. Now let's talk about how we simplify algebraic expressions. So to simplify algebraic expressions, first we remove any grouping symbols by applying the distributive property, which we just covered. Then we combine any like terms. Now, the question is, what is a like term? Like terms are terms that have the same variable or combination of variables raised to the exact same exponent. So, for example, 3x squared and negative 7x squared are like terms because they both have an x and the x is squared in both terms. So let's look at number 16 here. We have 5s squared minus the quantity 7 minus 2s squared plus 8 minus 11s. So first of all, we need to get rid of the parentheses. Now, this negative sign right here has to be distributed because we're subtracting everything inside that parentheses. So that makes this equal to 5s squared minus 7 minus 2s squared plus 8 minus 11s. So what like terms do we have here? Well, we have 2s squared terms, so those are like terms. And we have two constant terms, the -7 and the 8, that are also like terms. And that 11s doesn't have any like term. So, combine the like terms. We have 5s squared minus 2s squared. So 5 minus 2 is 3s squared. And then I'm going to go ahead and write the minus 11s. And then we have a -7 plus 8, which is plus 1. Now, it doesn't matter if you write it in that order, or you could have written it like this: 3s squared plus 1 minus 11s. It doesn't matter what order you write the terms in as long as you get the signs right. I just always write it in descending order of power. So I started with the highest exponent on the variable, which was squared. Then I went down to the single power, so a regular old s is like having an exponent of a 1. And then I went down to the constant term that doesn't have a variable. And this way is just like the normal way we write it in math. This second way is not wrong, it's just not how we usually write things. Alright, so now you should pause the video, of course, and then try to do number 17 on your own. And then restart the video. So remember, we have to distribute here, so the 4 has to be multiplied by both the 5x and the 1. And the -2 also has to be multiplied by the x and the 10. So when we do that, 4 times 5 is 20x, plus 4 times 1 is 4. -2 times x is minus 2x, and -2 times 10 is a -20. And now we combine like terms. Our like terms are 20x and -2x. And we have another set of like terms that are the constants 4 and -20. So when we combine those, 20x minus 2x is 18x, and -20 plus 4 is -16. So we end up with 18x minus 16 as our final answer. So that concludes the review lecture. You're now ready to do the review homework assignments.